absolutely you can just directly contact me at sharon@quavered.com. And if you see this character throughout the Quaver curriculum, that's not actually me. I just go around saying that it's me, just so I could feel like I'm in there somehow. All right. So the objectives for today is really just to give you a general idea of what we have. So we're going to start with a Quaver 101 tour, and then we're going to break it up into 3 sections. We'll look at lessons that you can assign to students digitally. So that will include the curriculum and Quaver Essentials. And then I like to call this the spice rack part of the training. So everything extra, songs, activity, resources that aren't necessarily in a full lesson, but that you can also include into your virtual lessons. And then rack, how you now organize everything and create assignments. So we'll be looking at really all of that in our time together. I'm going to start with a quick temperature poll. So here is what I like to call the blob tree. This is actually a resource that I was first introduced to in my grad degree in instructional coaching, and I have been using it with my students ever since as a quick assessment check. So I'm going to use this to kind of get an idea of where everyone is today. So if you are using Quaver for the first time and you are on the ground of the tree, if you could just give me a fist like this, like we're playing rock, paper, scissors. If you are climbing the trunk or you're on a branch or platform, meaning that you've sort of heard of Quaver, you've poked around, you kind of know what you're doing, can you just give me an open hand like this? And then if you are a Quaver expert and you're like, why am I even here? If you could just give me scissors like this. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So we are going to start by looking at the teacher dashboard. So once you log in, this is your home page that hosts everything. The lessons will all be on the left-hand side, and the 2 that we're going to look at today are Quaver Curriculum and Quaver Essentials. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Quaver Curriculum. What's great about this is that it is already scoped out for you. So it is labeled by grade. So you can choose on a grade level. And then you have units that are labeled in yellow. And in each unit, you have 3 lessons. And what's great about that is that it is sequenced out for you. And every 3rd lesson will have a built-in assessment that you can either use as is, you can edit the questions and swap them out if you want to, but all of the 3rd lessons in each unit will have an assessment already in there for your students. We also
Sharon, if I could just interrupt for a second, and
Absolutely.
Skylar, we landed on adopting 1st through 4th, is that right?
From what I remember, I think that's pretty close. I think so. I can't confirm that though.
Sure. Sharon, the recorder curriculum is in the 4th grade materials, is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
So our district is licensed for 1st through 4th grade.
That's good to know. And extra recorder resources will also live in your class play, and I will absolutely show you how to get to all of those too. At the very top, we do have this clickable blue and purple icon called Curriculum Features and Best Practices. And if you ever need a guide, a PDF of maybe the words, some keywords, if you need any movement maps, if you just need a full song list, a ukulele song index, all of those printable options will be hosted in that Curriculum Features and Best Practices. So here's your keyword glossary. If you need resources for teaching ELL, exceptional ed, things like that. So all of the extra guides here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just show you a 4th grade lesson since I'm already clicked on it. Once you click on a lesson, you'll first see a pop-up, and that is the lesson summary. And what this lesson summary does is just shows you what is inside the lesson before you launch it open. Underneath, you have some handy guides for the teacher. You have the overview of the lesson. You have the objectives. In Nashville, I had to post I can statements in my classroom, and so I would just pull them from the objectives here. There is a fully built lesson plan that is already done for you. So you have the purpose, the objectives, all your standards, and this is absolutely editable. So if you want to put in your own questions, your own directions, for your students, you can absolutely edit any of these out. Any printable worksheets. If you would like to customize the lesson, so reorder any of the screens or enter in screens from other lessons and you want to sort of Frankenstein a lesson together, you can absolutely do that with this customize button. And then whenever you're ready, you will go ahead and click launch. And launch will actually open up the lesson. And the first thing that you'll see is a welcome screen. And what's great about this is that you can actually edit this grade level here. So while this is a 4th grade lesson, if you do have 3rd graders that are ready for 16th notes, or maybe you're teaching middle school and you have them ready for 16th notes, you can edit that grade out. If you click on menu, and you'll see me clicking on menu a lot. So when in doubt, always click menu. Everything that you will need is always hosted in here. And go to tools, then grade. You get a whole banner of grades. So if you do have upper grade students that you want to use this lesson with, or you have younger grade students you want to use this lesson with, you can just change that. And then now the header says 3rd grade. You can also click on none if you do have a mix of, let's say, 3rd and 4th graders and you want to use this lesson. But what's great about that is that I taught at a design center, so I had a lot of 4th graders who didn't even know what a quarter note was. So a lot of the times I was using a lesson from 1st grade, but if they walked in and saw 1st grade, they would absolutely lose their minds. And so I would just switch that on just to trick them a little bit. All of our lessons will begin with some sort of critical thinking screen just to get students talking. And so this one is called Sets of 4. And you'll notice that a lot of our screens have a tiny little 1 of number, which means that there are 4 examples in this one page. So in this, students are coming up with things that come in sets of 4. So if you click on the little sliver here, you'll get some more examples. And they can maybe even chat box, their own ideas of things that come in sets of 4. And then here's our learning target today, the 16th notes. If you are ever looking at a screen and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because there are no directions on here, you can go back to that menu button and click on notes. And the notes will give you some sort of directions or maybe questions you can ask your students, how to group students, things like that. And again, these are the ones that are in the lesson plan. So if you edit them, it would show your own customized notes.
Sharon, if I could interrupt just for a second, just to clarify for our team, the idea with the lessons here is that this is something that would be presented by the teacher to a class. So this is, the lessons themselves are probably not, and Sharon, you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, but the lessons themselves are not really designed to be used just by students independently, asynchronously, that they log in and they're going to see the sets of 4 and kind of know what to do with it. The idea is that this is it's almost like a PowerPoint or a presentation of slides that you'd be teaching, and so pretty soon we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the distance learning type of material that we're going to be assigning to students that they'll do the work that they'll do independently. Does that sound about right, Sharon?
So I will say I do have a lot of teachers who just assign a full lesson like this. So when students log into their student accounts, they would have the option to open this lesson. And then when they click on notes, teachers are allowed to either type out some directions, or you can actually include a video of yourself giving directions. So on the student end, they can absolutely go through a lesson like this, and they could see a video guide of you talking through each of those screens and making it interactive with them. Or some teachers just do bullets of questions. Great question though. And again, too, you can customize these lessons as well. So I do have some teachers who just Frankenstein maybe 4 activities from a couple different lessons together and assign just that to their students. And we can go over exactly how to do the customization feature before we get out of this breakout room. This one is called 16th note patterns. And I think this is a great example to show you how you can use just one screen and have a lot of different activities on it. So as is, you could have students, maybe write down the rhythms. So they would have an option to do a draw tool. And they can go ahead and label the rhythms in, or maybe the goal is just to locate where the 16th notes are, and so they can circle them. Or if you are presenting, let's say, in a Zoom format like this, there is a hide screen that's available. And you can present one example at a time and have students maybe pat it on and do some body percussion with you, or if they have a found sound in the house that they want to present the rhythm with you on. If you have options of doing breakout rooms like we are doing now, you might have students work on, maybe you have 4 different groups and they work on the example together, and then you come back whole group and present it to each other. We also do have some teachers who do that hide tool and go this way. There we go. And ask their students to find some sort of item in their house that makes a sound. And they have the autonomy to choose example 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then play it all together in the Zoom. And I think that's a really great way to get everyone involved, and no one is afraid of making a mistake because we're all playing different examples. They're all different sounds. There is a backing track with all of the rhythm screens like this. Pretty slow, and it's nice and hip for students to get involved. It's not just a metronome or a track, so I like that a lot. So lots you can do with this screen and make it very interactive with your students. We also have screens that are very quick quick assessments that you could do with your students. So you would play the example. Maybe they're just in the chat box saying yes or no, I hear the 16th notes, and then you can reveal it. Or a lot of these interactive screens come with a mobile QR code. So if you go to menu again, you have this option of mobile. It's not available on every slide, but we do have them on a lot of them. And just how we signed in together, if they do have a smartphone next to them, which, what student, a lot of students have them nowadays, or an iPad or a Chromebook. And if they just have that camera app, they can scan this activity and do it right with you if you're not wanting to make it an assignment. And if you go through the QR code route, they do not have to log in. They don't have to create their own accounts. They could just do it right there with you. And I think that's really handy. If they don't have a camera that can scan a QR code, we also have this website, quavermusic.com/mobile app. And then each activity has their own special Quaver code. So this one would be P74428. So they would just go to this website. They could maybe bookmark it for later, and then just type in this code, and it would give them this screen. Each of our lessons has a featured song, and this one is a 16-note samba song to just practice the 16th notes. And so once this loads, I'll go ahead and play it for you, and let's just do half of the song together. So if you could, I know we're all muted, if you want to do it on your thighs, and have body percussion, if you want to do it on your shoulders, or maybe a desk in front of you, there will be some patterns, some rhythm patterns that will be guided through and will echo the lead. So I'll go ahead and skip. Let's do it halfway in, and then we can talk about some of the features that are available here. Sorry, I have like 1,000 tabs open, which is why my computer is going slow. While this is loading, has anyone explored the Quaver SEL curriculum by chance? Okay. Anyone attend the Quaver Con that we had the last 2 days? Okay, while this is, okay, well, it's loaded, but Quaver, you are absolutely invited to join us in our monthly webinars, and we do a large webinar where we will present maybe a lesson and some ideas that you could do with your students. In the past couple of months, we've been doing very distance teaching focused topics, and I think those are great. We also release blogs and weekly emails with more ideas and new things that we've released. So I think that's really, really great. All right, I'll go ahead
Sharon,
and start it here.
The Quaver Facebook group has been really good too. I think there's a couple of them.
Oh yeah, so there's one that is teacher created called Quaver Music Teachers, I believe it's what it's called. So if you are a Facebook user, that is such a great community of teachers all around the world, really just coming in and asking each other for suggestions, ideas, here's my situation, what's yours like? It's a great community and really a virtual PLC in a sense. And I really love that. All right, are you guys ready? Okay, here we go. If you have a desk in front of you, you can do it on your shoulders.
All right, everybody. Now it's time for you to repeat what I play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready, steady, here we go.
This song is about 16 notes. Teach me how to count 16 notes. I really like to play my 16 notes. 16 notes.
And then the song continues. It's really, really catchy. I really love our songs. What's great about these lyric screens is that it is very interactive, so your students can do a call and response. You also have this mixer icon available to you. So you can actually turn off the lead vocals or the background vocals. The background vocals on this song specifically are really nice, so I usually like to keep them on. But you can eliminate them. And what's great about that is that now students don't have that highlighted guide and they have to do it on their own. Or you could have the lead on and eliminate the track. So a couple of volume things that you can play around with there. And here you can either turn on or turn off the highlight feature. I like the karaoke kind of style where it highlights as the rhythm is being read or the word is being sung. I grew up an EL student and English is not my first language. So any highlight visual that you can give me as a student, that's how I participated well in class. All right. Any questions with the lyric screens?
Is everybody hearing everything okay? There was a comment about not hearing everything.
Yeah, let me open up the chat box. Please let me know if the volume is too high or too low or... Yeah, there is some audio delay of my end and then your end, which is why when we do these interactive activities together that the mute option helps. We have some more activities like this that you can assign your students, and maybe the directions or the video direction that you leave them is that, they have to come up with their own phrases underneath the examples, or maybe they find an instrument in their home and they play through the 4 examples, or show them how to improvise on a song using these 4 examples. Again, it's really autonomous to how you want to do each activity, but again, if you do need some help of what was the intention behind the creation of the screen, you can click on notes here. And this one is mobile capable again, so if you want students to just participate with you, you can click on that QR code and have some fun with that draw and text tool. Each of our lessons will also have a recap screen of what we learned today. And then since this is the 3rd lesson in that unit, an assessment is available to you. And what's great about this is if you click on teacher guided mode on, if I have students already in a class, then they would automatically get this to do it on their own account. So once they sign into Quaver Music on their student account, they would have this assignment to do. And you wouldn't have creating an assignment, customizing it. You could just click this on button. Recap of the song. Since we already did it, I'll go ahead and skip through this one. I also do have a lot of teachers who, when they are presenting in front of their students, if you don't want to go screen by screen and click on this next arrow, you can also click on this title here and skip around to pages that way. So if you don't want to bother with customizing a lesson and you just know that you want to hit some of the activities, you can absolutely hop around that way. And I think it's a little bit easier than clicking the next arrow a bunch of times. We also have this one that is a visual practicing of 16th notes, so you can build out a pattern like this and maybe ask students where they see or hear the 16th notes or what instrument is playing them. And then then they can answer the kick drum because it comes in sets of 4. So I have 4 blocks colored on. So that's essentially what is included in a lesson. We also have, if I go to the last screen of this lesson, we call them a quiz challenge. It's essentially a Jeopardy game, and you can change out any of the questions. You can build one from scratch, but it is very interactive, and I think it's a great way to wrap up lessons. And again, they are available on every 3rd lesson, but you can create one from scratch and really insert it into anything that you create. So that's the function of the Jeopardy game, which is really nice. So that's a quick overview of lessons. There's a question of how long does it normally take to get through a lesson? So when I am in front of teachers as an instructional coach, I actually don't advise any teacher to start from screen 1 and go all the way to screen 14. I think if you click through and get through every single screen, it's just not the best practice, because then you're not really taking time to go through the activities and instilling that skill on them. And so I sort of advise teachers to pick 2 to 3 screens from each lesson and make maybe a 30 to 40 minute lesson out of that. You saw with that 16th note pattern screen, I could use the hide screen, I could use some draw tool and have them circle 16th notes, I could have them make their own rhythms, and I think that one screen alone, I could spend 20 minutes on it. And so I suggest teachers to just pick 2 or 3 activities and maybe the song, and just make a whole lesson out of that, your 30 to 40 minute block lesson. But again, you can customize it as long as you need it to be or as short as you need it to be. And when we go to the resource manager domain, I'll show you how to do that. Great
Sharon,
question.
what we're probably looking at for our instructional time with our students is that we would have one 30-minute synchronous lesson time with our students a week, and then one asynchronous lesson with our students once a week. So probably more in the form of an assignment that we would go back and follow up with, and this would mostly be for our beginners, as Mike mentioned at the beginning. So our students who are brand new to music, that we would be giving them an introduction to music literacy and musical concepts through the synchronous lesson time, and then in the asynchronous lesson time, be giving them the assignments. So I think your tip to minimize the number of screens that we present, I think that'd be very appropriate in our 30-minute lesson time we have with students.
That's good to know as well for when you are presenting in front of students in that synchronous time. I think Quaver Curriculum is a great platform because you could just share your screen. Again, you can make them assignments, but we also have Quaver Essentials here, which are very video based, and that would be great for asynchronous time. And again, you can make all of these assignments to students as well. When you look at Quaver Essentials, we have 4 larger topics. We have music theory, that's in blue. We have instruments and ensembles in this purple color, composers and music theory in this teal, and then music styles in red. And so when you click on a certain topic, you see that they have a video episode, and the video episodes range between 15 to maybe 30 minutes. You have a teacher guide, which is a lesson plan for you, and they look like this. Just this gray screen, that's all you get. Well, I'll let that load. Let me refresh. Maybe I had it up for too long. But this is essentially a lesson plan PDF. And so it includes some notes, some worksheets that you could do. And Quaver Essentials actually was where Quaver Music first started. We didn't have all these lessons and resource manager and all that stuff. It started with Quaver Essentials as a DVD pack. So the guide was just a printable PDF for the teacher for notes and all the extra material. Oh no. All right, let's get back into the Quaver Essentials. I'll just let this load here. So any MP3 tracks that are available will be here. Teacher Toolbox, which we'll look at separately. Any interactive activities, quizzes, worksheets. So essentially, I think this portion of the teacher dashboard, the Quaver Essentials, would be great for the asynchronous activities because there is that video episode that they can watch on their own at their own time. So that is just a quick look. There's a lot to see in there. What I do want to do is jump into Resource Manager because that is where all of the customization will happen. And we'll go ahead and revisit this. We'll look at it a little bit now, visit some of the SPY stuff underneath, and then go back to Resource Manager. So Resource Manager is designed into 3 different columns. We have this left-hand column, the middle, and then the right-hand column. And the left-hand column is to help you search for what you need. And it's sort of designed like shopping on Amazon. Anyone shop on Amazon? Just me. So when you click on a larger topic, it'll filter into smaller topics. So if I were on Amazon and shopping, let's say clothes, and then underneath I would get like female, male, children. And then when I click on that, it'll filter down even more. And it's like t-shirts, shoes, you know, I don't know. So the further you click down, the smaller your results will be. And this middle section is exactly that. It's just a results page. Another way to search for things is just to search it on top here. So you could search for any concepts. You could do math, English language arts, you could do study beat. We have a lot of keywords that you can search for, and it'll pull up, let's see, 354 activities. So here we have the interactive screens. If you are looking for a song about beat, if you're looking for a lesson, assessments, video, audio, any printables. So this is a great way to figure out what you need and search for it, and then just have all your results there rather than going through a lesson and following the sequence. You also have this grade filter. So if I were to click on 3rd grade, then it would show me 3rd grade material that also addresses the keyword beat. And it drops my results down a little bit. If I were to click on 2 grade levels, notice that it says parentheses 2. This doesn't mean that it's showing you results for 2nd grade, but just that you have 2 filters turned on, 3rd and 4th grade. I do like using this topic index here because it is a great way, again, to search for what you need. If you were looking for social emotional learning resources, or maybe just music history or instruments, they're all here by topic, and it's a great way to really narrow down to what you need. We also have this resource sets button. And what this does is it takes that teacher dashboard, all the icons you saw on that welcome page, and put it into a searchable feature. So if I want to edit a lesson, then I would go to Quaver Curriculum. Click on the grade level. We looked at 4th grade, lesson 3, that's Super 16th notes. And if I wanted to edit this, I could click and drag it over into my right-hand column. So the right-hand column is your customizational column. This is personal to you. No one else can see what you edit there or customize. So how to use this now, you're just going to click on menu. Oops, let me exit out of here. Click on menu and new folder. You see that I have already created 6 folders here. And I will title this one, let's say, example. So now I have this example folder. It is grayed out because I have not dragged in anything yet to customize. If I wanted to customize this lesson 3, Super 16th notes, all I would have to do is click and drag it over. And so now when I open this up, I have my lesson here. All you're doing is making a carbon copy when you click and drag it over. So if you edit any pieces of this, the original will always remain the same. So if you want to go back to the original format, all you would have to do is search for it again. So now I'm just going to click on this. And again, when in doubt, always click menu and then edit lesson. And here are all those screens that we saw in that lesson. So you can either reorder them, you can delete them. You go to menu and delete. For a shortcut, you can just right click and delete. You can edit the notes. So if I were to click on this again, I have this edit screen or edit notes. So I would go to edit notes so I can either type out directions or put in a video of myself talking to my students. So here would be some guided instructions. And then I can also click on this video instructions icon at the very top here. And then it would ask me to record a video. Once I recorded it, I could upload that on and it would live in this note. So then when students launched the assignment and clicked on notes, they would see the guided instruction that you typed out and also your face of whatever directions you gave your students. I also know that there are some teachers who enlist the help of sign language specialists at their schools, and they put videos next to the lessons, and I thought that was a brilliant way to use that feature. If you do reorder any of these screens, you will have a new lesson plan that matches your customized lesson. So if I were to go to menu and lesson plan, now it will have the screens in the order that I dragged them into, the notes that I edited, and you see that the screens that I deleted are now out of this lesson. If you wanted to change any of the headers, you also have that option under menu at edit headers. If you wanted to change the grade level, the title of the lesson, maybe you have your own objectives here on purpose. If you wanted to add in your state standards, you can do that here.
So Sharon, the students who will be using this they will be 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, are beginners, and we've licensed to use 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade materials. So I think for sure we're going to want to edit out that the 2nd grade material, or edit the announcement that it's the 2nd grade curriculum, and that's the place where we do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you pull from a lesson, the only time it mentions a grade is that welcome screen. So you could actually just get rid of this and delete it all together, and now you don't have a welcome screen in this lesson. So even if you pull from, let's say, a 2nd grade lesson and they're reviewing fundamentals of how to read quarter notes and quarter rests, or maybe they're just learning how to keep a steady beat while playing, and a lot of those fundamental lessons will live in those lower grade levels. If you just delete that first screen, the welcome page, there is no mention of a grade in any of the other activities. And another thing that you can do if you want to sort of mix in screens, let's say I can click on 2nd grade here, and let's say I want to review strong and weak beats. I can click on menu and just view the activities of that lesson, and I could just click and drag them in. So let's say I really like this Find That Beat game and I want to put it in here. You can do it that way. Anything you search here and anything in this results page, you can click and drag over into your lesson, essentially. The next thing you can do, 2 things. If you click on menu and go to new screen, now this is, you can't find an activity or you have a resource that you want to upload and you already have a PDF, you have maybe an MP3 track that you've used with your students that you want to now include into a lesson. If you click on new screen, it's a way for you to build a screen from scratch or to upload your own resources that you would not be able to find in a Quaver lesson. So multimedia is a PowerPoint slide. Melody Composer is just to have one little melody on the screen for them to read, maybe that the rhythm or the melody doesn't exist anywhere else. Checklist Builder is what I had used at the beginning of our training today to go over the objectives. You saw a little bit of that quiz challenge, which is the Jeopardy game, and all of these would be built from scratch. You have Quiz Builder if you want to make your own assessment from scratch. And this is a great way to track data even during this remote setting where teachers can do a little check-in screen or make their own little quiz and then students can submit it and the grades would be auto-populated in your Quaver account. So let me show you an example of that. can type in any question here, you know, how was your weekend? Oops. I cannot type. You can make more than one answer correct. You can also search for questions in our bank here. So if you wanted to include, let's say we did a lesson on 16th notes, here's my keyword, and there are a host of questions here. The ones with purple are the ones with the pictures. We also have this green audio icon, so those are the ones that come with a play button. And if you like the question, you can just simply click and drag it over. What's great too is that you have a menu and print quiz option if you do want to make it a printable. And what's great about that is it'll print you a blank version, and you also have the option to click show correct answers and print a teacher key for yourself. So now that I added my quiz in, here it is. And I could reorder it to wherever I need it to go. Some other features of that new screen option, if you wanted to make a rubric, we also have this teacher recording. So if you wanted to do a standalone video of you talking to your students, that's not just a note on a screen, you could do teacher recording. And a lot of our teachers utilize this feature during distance teaching, where they will record a welcome message or just give an overview of what the lesson is going to be. You can maybe do it at the end. If you're making an assignment, you can also choose student recording. And again, this was a very popular feature in this remote setting, where students can record videos of themselves and submit it back to you as a grade. So maybe the assignment was to play through Hot Cross Buns, then they can record themselves playing that, and then the video would come back to you. Or you might even just do it as a check-in screen. You know, how are you doing? Then they can, you know, record a video saying they're doing great, and then that would live in your grade book. We have audio upload. If you own any MP3s in your computer, you can put that into a lesson. File upload. If you do have any docs, PDFs, or worksheets that you want to include into the lesson that you have been using in your classroom, you can do that. We have web link. If you want the Quaver lesson to open a different, let's say, online PowerPoint, or maybe some I don't know, online resource that you find helpful, you want to include that into your lesson, you have the web link option. And then we have a video link. If you have, let's say, a Vimeo that you want to include, or a Flipgrid video, or YouTube, you can also just copy and paste in that link. And so you don't have to open up a separate tab. It will all just live in that one lesson, which is great. Another great feature of that YouTube link is that when you copy and paste it in, Quaver will eliminate the commercials out of the YouTube video, and that's great, so that you're not having to worry about, you know, inappropriate commercials or advertisements as they're watching a video. I've also found that if your district restricts certain videos, that will lift that too. So if for some reason you find a video that you want to use and you can't use it in school, you can upload it onto the Quaver lesson and you can open it that way. So now that you have your lesson all built, and you customize it, you put in your own notes, maybe you put in a video of yourself, you want to now make it an assignment. You're going to click on that same menu button. So you notice anytime I need something, it will always be menu. And the very last option here is create assignment from. So what it's going to do, it's going to ask me to rename the assignment. Let's do week 1. And so now you have this week 1 with a green A assignment icon. Are YouTube ads always removed? Yeah, they are, which is great. I do think there are some videos though that have a lot of commercials in between the videos nowadays, and I don't know if it gets rid of that, but it will get rid of the beginning ones. And all this did was make a carbon copy of this existing lesson that I had customized into an assignment. So now if I were to open up this assignment, menu and edit, it's the same screens from that customized lesson, but this time I have circles next to some of the assessments. So if you do want to receive feedback in your gradebook, maybe after they take the quiz, if I were to include a student recording screen, I would just go to menu, same functionality, new screen, And this time, because it is an assignment, I can receive student recordings. Record yourself playing, you know, whatever it is. And so now here's my student recording. I can now click this on. Do you want this as the graded screen? Yes. Now notice that I have 3 screens that I can grade, but you can only choose one. And this is because in the grade book, each lesson will just have one little square. And so you can only receive one assignment per lesson. So you could make these 3 different assignments so that you could receive all 3 of them. But in a single assignment, you can only assign one option, one assignment. So if I wanted to receive all my students' recordings, I would have to click this one on. Okay, so that's how you make an assignment from a lesson. Now, what if you wanted to just make a very quick assignment from scratch? I'm going to click on the folder that I want to use, same menu button, and this time I'm going to just click New Assignment Template instead of dragging over a whole lesson into my folder. So this time I have my blank assignment that I just created from scratch. When I click this and go to Menu and Edit, notice that I don't have any items yet because it's from scratch. Now this is the time where I can search for, let's say, instrument resources. Let's say I want some interactive activities. And then I can just drag in pieces. Again, you can edit the notes just by going to Edit Notes and Video Instructions. You can launch it to see what it looks like. And what's great too is you can also share the assignment. So once you create an assignment and you want, let's say, the other teachers in your district to also have access to this assignment that you've created, you can click Share Assignment. And if the teachers were to search your name, oops, they would see all of the lessons that you have shared with them. And that is a great resource because if you do upload your own documents or PDFs or worksheets, or let's say you spent time and customized a week's one worth of assignments, then you can share them with your colleagues and they would also have access to that. They won't be able to access or search for things unless you give that permission to share. Even the lesson here, if I were to edit that and go to Menu and Share Lesson, I would have to give permission first, and notice how the icon turns purple for it to be searchable for other users. If it is not shared, it's just yellow, and other teachers in the district cannot search for this lesson. So this is only for your eyes until you give permission.
So Sharon, while we're on the subject of sharing lessons, if I could maybe segue here a little bit. So Skylar Johnson has created some sample lessons and assignments for our team. And the idea here, Sharon, is that, you know, we're starting out the school year and kind of, you know, learning everything as we're going and figuring out so much of how our district music program is going to work in addition to learning Quaver. And so Skylar's been gracious enough to kind of create some sample assignments and lessons for us here. And I know Mike Stone's going to want to come back on and kind of wrap up our meeting at about 11:45. So whatever point you feel might be appropriate to kind of transition to having Skylar present some things, you know, let me know. I don't know if this would be a good time or if there's a few more things that you'd like to go over.
Let me go over a couple more things and then we'll switch over. Is that okay with you, Skylar? Okay, great. Once Skylar does share his lesson, you can again either just type his name in here, or another way you can get to that is resource sets. When you click on resource sets and go to custom resources, it's the very first tab here. You can see a whole bank of everyone in my district who has shared a lesson, or if they shared an interactive activity, or maybe an assessment that they've built out, or maybe videos, audio, printables. And that's a great way to see everyone's shared material instead of just that individual person. Really quickly, there's two other icons that I want to show you because it is very popular with our teachers in creating their assignments. We have Class Play, which is essentially a music library. So if you do not want to assign a full lesson and maybe you just want to do a song and an activity, then Class Play is where you would go. So we have this filters icon if you are looking for a certain genre, instrument, or something in a certain key or mode, in a certain meter, solfege. You can click on some filters. And then when you click on the song, you have the animated lyric screen here, which we saw with the karaoke feature. We have the full score available. And then if you go up here, you have printables or some activities. So that's a great, really quick way for teachers to choose a song they want to give their students with one activity, or maybe the song and the full score. And if you are prepping for band, we do have some lead sheets available for every instrument that is a part of that accompaniment, so they can really practice reading the parts. It looks like we have some questions. Oh, are you all connected now? Yeah, that's a great question. I think Jay is your sales director, am I right? Okay. Once we switch over, Skylar, let me text Jay and make sure that you guys are all under the same district. And if you are, then you should be able to see everyone's lessons. Great
Awesome.
question. The very last thing I wanted to share with you, in Class Play, you can also search for recorder units and lessons and songs. So if you wanted to view any of them, they would live under Class Play. The very last thing I wanted to show you before we switch is the toolbox, and that exists also on your teacher dashboard, but you also have a shortcut from your lessons and under Class Play. And this is a way to insert in some virtual instruments for your students. You have some single resources that aren't tied to a song, aren't tied to a specific lesson, but that they could have on their own. So you have interactive instruments. We have some ORF instruments, and we also have some percussion instruments. So if you just want them to understand the notes, how it's laid out, what it sounds like, I know a lot of our teachers have assigned this ORF instrument to their students, so they can click on the instrument and then play through that. So they would have access to a xylophone at home. You also have some general tools, some vocal warm-ups, solfege activities. A lot of the games will also live here as well under Toolbox. This one might be really handy if you are trying to prep students and scaffold their learning into band. We have an instrument knowledge category, and they learn about each instrument. There's some textbooks, and at the end, there's a little game here called Instrument Crane, and I know that one is a really popular one with our teachers. The students listen to the instrument and they have to put it into the exact category. I'll let that one load. We have some composition and literacy games as well, where they have to read the staff. There's some games or theory specific ones. So that's a great way to put in a single activity or a single game when you are designing your assignments. All right, let's do one icebreaker activity. Let me exit out of there. One icebreaker activity, and then we will switch over into Skylar's presentation. So he can show you some of the activities that he has put together. I'm going to reopen my lesson here. All right, so this one is called Prepare the Body. You can do it sitting or standing. It's a great one, again, to get your students moving. And I will just pull up stretches. If I were to use this with my students, I would have a student lead pull up their own stretches. But for the sake of time, I'll just pull them up. And then you will have an option to choose beats per minute of how fast you want the stretches to go. I usually choose 80. It's not too fast, not too slow. I would suggest if you are presenting with your students not to have 20 tabs open. And you don't have to use all 7 if you want to make it a shorter activity. You can just do 4. All right, here we go. All right, Skylar. Any questions before I unshare my screen?
So we can add that prepare the body into a lesson?
Yeah, all you would have to do is just search for the name of it since you already know the title. It also lives in Toolbox. And if it has a QR code, which let me double check. The ones with QR codes, you don't necessarily have to assign it to a student because then they can just scan the QR code and do it with you. Oh, yep, it does. But if you're just sharing a screen too, you can just search for that activity and you wouldn't have to make it an assignment either. There it is. Great question. Anyone else?
I have a question. So we're supposed to be using Google Classroom. Does this stuff interface with Google Classroom, or do we just put a link to this and then they go to the link and then they're on Quaver? How does that work?
We have a lot of teachers who use Google Classroom, and the two because they are separate resources, it doesn't necessarily integrate, but just like you had mentioned, a lot of teachers will just give the link or will type out directions of how to sign up for an account. Oh, that's one thing that I'll quickly go over so that you know exactly what students need to do on their end to get your assignments. When you click on Teacher Admin, and I will have to ask this to Jay too, has your district integrated their classes with Quaver, do you know, or not?
I don't believe we've gotten that far yet.
Okay, so there are some districts, and what they do is they integrate with us directly so that we create all the student accounts for you, so you don't have to sit there and do it on your own. And we will create classes for you as well. But we have made it a little bit easier for teachers. If you go to Teacher Admin and Classes, you can click on this Add New Class. You can give your class title a name, you know, Mrs. A start and end date. I would push it out probably till next year or maybe even into the summer of next year just so that they have access to it, because once a class expires, it will delete. You could put enter students to require name at login, so you can always, it doesn't necessarily ask for a first and last name when they create an account, so you can check that as a requirement so that if they do make a username that's like Gamebox Boy, that you know who it's coming from. You can do record student login as attendance. So whenever students log into their account, it would count on your attendance sheet. And then you can also do auto generate student accounts. So in your class, let's say you have, 30 kids, then you can put in 30 and save. So here's my class. And here's the class code, and that is what students will use as their password for the first time they log in. Once they log in, they will have to change their own passwords, and you can absolutely change them if they forget it later on. But when they first log in, that would be their password. So this one would be TA43D. And now when I go to student accounts, I can see under my class that I have 30 generated new student accounts. This is their Quaver name, but I can edit that and make it my own. So notice that that first couple of, I believe it's 5 characters are the password, And then it starts from 0, 0, 0, and then adds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as it goes down. If you wanted to change the Quaver name, you can give the student a different account number, account name. So if you knew that the student's name was, let's say, Brian Game 1, then when they log in, they would put in Brian Game 1 as their username, and the password would be the class code. So you can create all their usernames for them if you don't want them to take that step and do it on their own.
And we can set that all of that up before we give them that class code so that they can just find their name.
Correct. Mm-hmm. The other way to do that is, again, through us. If you, I will connect with Jay to see if we can make that happen, because then we will just do it all for you, and then you could just give the username and password to your students. But once you have all that ready, you would go to assignments, and anything in Resource Manager that you have made into an assignment, so with that green A icon, will live here. So if I wanted to give my students that week 1 assignment, all I would have to do is just click Give Assignment. I can put in some directions. I'm checking here which one I want graded, and here's that student recording, and then save. So here it is. So now as a student, if I'm logging in for the very first time, I'll exit out of all of my accounts here. And I already have a student account, but if they didn't have a student account, that's where they would put in that Brian Game 1 with the class code. And then it would ask them to create a new password, and I might just do music. Oh, password must be at least 6 characters in length. Music Joe. And then I required them to enter in their first and last name. And that's it. That is their student account. And they would only have to do that one time. So now after logging in for the very first time, they would just have to put in their username and then their new passwords. And this is what their student dashboard would look like. So they have some extra things that they can do here. Some of the games, composition creative, some books, Quaver Street, but you also have assignments, and that's where all of the assignments that you've given your students will live. And then here's the lesson that they've opened up. Any questions with the assignment portion?
For the assignments, does it always keep the most recent one on the top, like when they look at their assignments?
Yeah, and notice how there are 4 tabs here. So once they do complete it, it would live under this yellow submitted tab. But yes, it will always be whatever was assigned to them by date. So if you do pre-assign things, you can change the date of when they see it on their account. So if you were to make an assignment and you didn't want them to see it until tomorrow, then you would just set the date for tomorrow, and then they wouldn't see it on their dashboard until that date. Okay, Skylar, I think you're up.
All right. And I just wanted to mention the way that, since I was already starting to use Quaver a couple years ago, the way they had set it up was to have the students use Clever, right? And so there was like actual, like they gave me a link there. They said, have the students click on this link and it will automatically use their bcsd.com email to log in. And then so when they got into the when they got to Quaver Street, it already had their name. And then they just needed to get enrolled into my classroom, or like the classroom that I had set up for them. And that's the way we did it for mine. I don't know if it's going to be different now, though, now that we have a lot more students, and it's going to be a kind of a different way of doing it.
So that's what I was saying with integrations. If you do integrate with our integrations team, and they are using their Google usernames and passwords, and all they would have to do is just click sign in with Google, and then it would automatically open up to their student accounts because we already did all of that on our end.
Right.
But
So they would just need to enter the class code at that point, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Did you want me to switch over to my screen? Because basically what I did was what you were already talking about. And so I actually have a student one logged in. Let me go ahead and share the screen. All right, can everyone see this screen? I'm looking over at the thing. Okay, good. I should have it set up for audio now as well. And this is all, whoa, sorry. Is that loud? Okay, yeah, everyone heard that. So I have it set up, and I created just like a test one just to try this out, just so you could see what it would look like from the student's perspective. And so I've already created 4 different assignments. Oh, it looks like, oh, Steve, I think you may have submitted something for this first one, the intro and beat for the assignment, I guess, because it looks like I have a submitted one. Did you do a video recording at the end of this one?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll find out. Someone did.
Okay.
Okay. So it may have been me. I don't even know. So the way we did this, and I actually just learned something from watching the webinar, which is really great, was the video notes. And I really want to be able to do that. But right now I just have this set up as a test. And I did what you suggested, which is create a intro screen, kind of just telling the students about what they're about to do. We'll watch it because, but I think all this stuff is going to get changed. I just put this in as like just temporary recordings when I was creating these, because I created the 4 of these a couple of weeks before school ended, I think. So we'll watch. Actually, it's fine. We don't even need to watch this one yet. But what the big concept for these lessons was that we give them something to listen to, some sort of concept, and a couple games. And then at the end of each lesson, they tell us what they liked about it and make it really simple, really easy for the students to be able to do something, right? So I'm just going to play this because I need to remember what I had to say. Good morning, everybody. My name is Skylar Johnson, and I'm going to be showing you the basic introduction to how Quaver assignments work. So you're going to see we have some controls down here. If I'm looking, is it over here? If you see, there's like some notes. If you ever add a section, so if I go like this, so if you ever add a section, you're like, what am I supposed to do here? I don't know. What you want to do is click these notes. Click those notes right down there, and those will show you generally what you're supposed to do. And if you go back and forth, you'll be able to rewatch videos, you'll be able to play the games, you'll be able to look at the slides. There's all sorts of cool things that you'll be able to do in these lessons. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And you're gonna learn a lot about music, and you're also gonna get to hear a lot of really fun music. And you're also gonna get to create music, and you're also gonna get to play games. There's all sorts of cool things. Just make sure at the very end, there's a little spot where you're gonna have to record yourself and tell me something that you really liked about this lesson. Tell me what you really liked. And just have a lot of fun, okay? All right, enjoy. Make sure you click the next button after you watch this. And so what I think might be a really good idea now that we're watching these is on each screen, just since it's brand new students for the instructions, I'm thinking maybe it'd be a really good idea to do the video here instead of actual instructions. And just like a quick thing of just, hey, what should we do? What are they supposed to do? And then they can just listen to, we can have ourselves record it, or if the teachers want to re-record theirs, they could, when I share my lesson, you could re-record it, or you could just use whoever is giving the instructions. And so for this first lesson, this is if I go back just so you can see, this is intro and beat. So what I did for this one was I have a song that they get to listen to, and then they actually have, we won't listen to this one just yet. It's a really cool song. I love this unique song, which is a really great SEL song. And I actually put in a whole beat episode, and the kids can actually watch this. It's about, I'm not gonna play it right now, but you can see it's about 12 minutes long, and it's all about beat. The kids can just watch it. And then they have a couple games. So this one is the beat bounce again. If they need to know what to do, they can always click the instructions. And here they have to clap the beat and then click the character that is bouncing to the tempo. So if I listen, trying to figure out which guy, well, he's going fast. Oh, that's wrong. Maybe it's that one. Oh, great, awesome, I found the beat. So there's a fun little activity there. I added another song that was related to beat. Hey, Mr. Beat Boy, this one's an awesome one. I really love doing this song with my students when I was doing my general music program. And also another game, Can You Keep the Beat? And then at the very end, oh yeah, look, there's Steve. Hey, so it looks like he already recorded a video. I think we should just watch this.
Hello, Mr. Johnson. I really enjoyed the interactive exercises, tapping along with the beat and finding the correct beat. I enjoyed the song at the beginning that showed the lyrics and the girl singing, and the animation was really good. So enjoyed this exercise. Great job with putting it together. Thank you.
So that would be lesson 1. I really quick, I want to go super fast because I want to make sure we have time to talk about these things. But one of the other lessons that I created, because originally I was just going to do musical concepts, and I realized there's so many good resources in Quaver regarding orchestra and for band. And so I just kind of wanted to quickly show what made one for strings, because there's like a, actually, should we listen to these right now, Steve, or should we just kind of move on? Okay, so let's listen to just this first song called Air Orchestra. I'm just going to play like about the first little bit of time.
We are the orchestra, now come and hear us play. We are the brass, oh yeah, we are the brass, oh yeah, we are the brass, oh yeah, hear the brass play, oh yeah.
And so it goes through all the different parts of the orchestra. It's a really fun song. Again, then when there's a little section on the instrument families that the students can look at. And since this is a string-based lessons, I included this video, and there's a different video of each of the different instruments that they can watch. So they can click on all 4 right here. Going into the instrument anatomies, they can click around and find, and this is the basic version. They can click around and see all the different parts of the instruments. And then another video, but this one actually has performances, which is really cool.
Violin, viola, cello, and double bass. Violin, viola, cello, and double bass. Violin.
And so you get the idea, and then it speeds up, and that one's a lot of fun. Oops, I think did I double click over something? Oh yeah, and so like she said, there's the instrument crane, right, built into my assignment. So I gotta listen, like, okay, that seems like it's percussion. Oh no, man, I got that wrong. Yeah, I got it right. So that game is a lot of fun. And then at the end, so this is what the student screen would look like. You're going to see me talking right here. But all the students would have to do is just click record. They could watch it back and then re-record it if they need to. Submit it, and that's all I was thinking that the students would have to do at this point. It's just making that way we have proof that they did it. They're talking about something, a positive thing that they had from here. We're getting a little bit of student feedback. It might be a really great way, and we're not like testing them, like not trying to do like we're not quizzing them on beat or like anything just yet, but just getting a little bit of feedback a little bit early. And so I just built this just like how she showed us, using the Quaver Resource Manager, creating some new things. I already knew some of I'm going to click out of here. I'm actually going to log out of this one, go to mine, and we need to make sure that since I created my account a few years before everyone else did, I need to make sure that I'm a part of the district. So when I create these things, I can share. So yeah, I created all these in distance learning. It looks like I may have already, did I already make it so they're shareable? Yes, I did. So I guess if you look up my name, it might show up in there if you guys already have set those things up. And so that's basically what I've done. I made one for intro and beat, one that has a little bit more on beat and also introduced cue grooves there. And this one was a little bit different because I asked them to watch one of the videos that has a social emotional learning aspect to it and ask them, what do they think the story means? And so I'm trying to get them to do a little bit of something different. And then again, the strings, and then I also had one with winds. And so this was just a little bit of different content I wanted to try out that can cover different sections. And what I'm kind of starting to think about with this is, if you take one of these lessons and you're like, ooh, I really want to add this one to it, right? You could create your own and be like, hey, I added this screen. I think it would be really good. Let's try using that and we can collaborate, because I think that's going to be a really great way to be able to explore this, because now that we all have accounts, we should, you have access to all the same, we all will have access to all the same resources, and we might find something like, ooh, this actually works well with this, or I find it better, like, and this is just for the asynchronous assignments, not the lessons that we would be teaching synchronously with the students. And so that's basically what I was just going to cover. So Steve, I don't know if you wanted me to talk about anything or anything else.
Actually, could you show, we had a question about videos being submitted for a grade. So while you're here, could you click out and go to the teacher admin?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, and see what it looks like. Thank you. I did want to do this. So here's my distance learning class right here. I just did this setup. I can go to my gradebook, and it looks like my distance learn test. Oh, it looks like they've submitted one. So if I click on this, and it'll take me right to the place where the student created something, and you can watch it. And then from there, you can submit their grade. I don't even know how we're going to do our grades. I'm just going to give them a 10. I don't know what we actually say, but, or maybe we do it rubric style and it's more like a 4 or something like that, right? And you can put comments in here as a little reminder. You can actually message the student directly. I don't know if we're really going to want to do that or not, but the option is there. I have a class chat, but the class chat is actually turned off in mine, but that's where you would do that. And you could just go down the whole list of students. Since there's only one student showing up here, I think normally it shows like a list of the students, right? Oh, that's where I was back here. And so you would go through, you could see who submitted it and who hasn't. And if you only have, so that's that section. Where is the chat?
And I just heard back from Jay. He says that your district, everyone does have their own accounts and you are all connected. So if you were to search for each other or go to that custom resources button, that you should be able to see each other's lessons. And you do not have single sign-on at this time, but I said that maybe we can try to get that to happen. So if, I don't know who your district IT person is, but whoever that is, we can connect that person with our integration team, and then we can get single sign-on. And that would mean that they would just have to click on sign in with Google, and they do not have to create their own usernames, their own passwords. You don't have to do anything on your end. And I think that would be probably the easier way to go.
Yeah, because basically what I would do when I did this with my general music classes, setting up their Quaver accounts is basically one lesson. That's like I have them for 30 minutes, they get out their Chromebooks, making sure they go to the right website. They all get to Quaver Street. Once they're all at Quaver Street, we go to the next step. And then I just gave them time to explore at the end. And then the next lesson, we actually did something with it. So that would be a good way to save a little bit of time, because it can be a little bit confusing to some students, but they pick it up pretty quick.
I'll see if I can work with Nathan Miner or someone from IT and have the information submitted to Quaver so that we can get students set up on that single sign-in.
My question real quick is I didn't know if the lessons that I was creating would be shared through the resource manager or the teacher/district customized curriculum section.
It would all be resource manager. So the teacher district customized lesson will look just like Quaver curriculum, but that's just for you to organize and create your own scope and sequence. Or if you do have custom lessons that you wanted to put in that scope and sequence, that's the place for that. But any shared lesson will all be through Resource Manager.
Right. Yeah, and just to clarify, yeah, this was for the asynchronous assignments. So I haven't created any sort of like synchronous lessons, I guess. So there's the synchronous lessons and then assignments, and this is for the assignments. But you could include going over the assignment with the students at the end of the synchronous lesson so they could just see it one time before they have to do it. That's one way to do it, I guess.
So now that we have kind of an idea of what our school, we're starting to have somewhat of an idea of what our school year is going to look like, and Mike Stone has put together the timeline of what's happening with our beginners and our returning students and that kind of thing. I'm working on putting that together in a more calendar, sort of a visual format. We'll start to talk about the synchronous lesson time and what we'll do with that. I don't think the idea is that we're going to start off, the very first synchronous lesson with a Quaver lesson. I think the idea is that we're getting people on, getting students on and getting everybody and kind of taking attendance that way and all that. And then at some point, Mike and I will talk about what the appropriate time would be to start doing synchronous Quaver lessons with everybody.
As far as finding my assignments real quick, we should check in with Jay, because since I created my account before, I don't know if that needs to be created differently, because I don't do the Google sign-in. Mine was the normal one where I created my username and password. So we'll have to check that out. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in here. I didn't even really get into the creatives. The class creatives are a blast, being able to create cue grooves, and I think Steve even created some beats that he actually ended up putting on his phone already. So that's kind of a fun thing.
And one thing I wanted to say too is you do not have to feel like you're reinventing the wheel. A lot of teachers are actually just using the lessons, and the first half they're doing synchronously. So they're just leading them live, through a Zoom meeting or a Google Classroom or whatever it is. And then they save the last half of the lesson and just customize it a little bit for students to do at home on their own. So in that sense, it kind of saves you some time. We at Quaver are also making back to school assignments and lessons for you, so you can actually search for those. We had some at the end of the year for the spring semester once we all started to be in that remote setting. So if you go to Resource Manager and you want to see those end of the year assignments that we've already built, they're just called Music at Home. And you should see all of the assignments that we have that's already available for you as assignments for you to give to your students already made. And the back to school assignments will look the exact same way. So if you wanted to see through those, we have an assignment of just games, an assignment of just sing-along songs. We have them also labeled by grade level, so you can see it that way.
That's cool. Is this the Africa?
It is the Africa.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. All right. That's good to know. I'll have to look at that later.
And because they're already made, if you could exit out of here and go back to Teacher Admin and go to Assignments. Notice on the left-hand side, there are two tabs. You have Custom, which are the assignments that you have created. And then you have the tab called Quaver, and those are the assignments that we've already made for you. So you can actually look through some of the assessments or assignments that we have built. They are in alphabetical order, so if you want to get to the Music at Home, it's a little bit of a ways. There it is.
Yeah, I see.
So then all you would have to do is click and then give assignment, and that would be it.
Right, yeah, so hip hop. Oh, we wouldn't have access to this hip hop. Wait, some of these.
Actually, you would.
Oh.
I know that you only have, you said 2nd through 4th grade or 1st through 4th grade.
2nd through 4th.
But if you, it's kind of a glitch in the system right now, so technically you would have it.
Oh, okay.
And all of the songs in class play you would have access to as well, even if they are songs that are labeled 5th, 6th, you would still have them.
We have it full access to class play.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. That's really good to know, because now that we know that we're fully online, because I created these when we were thinking about just being, it was going to be like kind of a hybrid, maybe thinking about it where we would give a lesson, and then this is something that they would do on the days that they were at home. But now that we're fully online, now we have to think about what are we going to do for the synchronous lessons, where the teacher's actually leading the group. It's hard to say asynchronous, asynchronous, or no. So.
And I think that's where teachers are really going to lean on those lessons, because they already are
Right.
scoped out by week, and it's by skill. So, you know, you wouldn't teach triple note, like how to read triplets, if you haven't gone over, you know, the lesson of quarter notes. And so it's already kind of laid out for you by grade level. And so I know a lot of teachers are planning on just following that sequence and just customizing a couple pieces of those lessons, or maybe just presenting the first half and the last half they do on their own. So I think with the foundation there, it gives you a little bit of support so that you aren't feeling like you have to do it completely from scratch.
Right. And Steve, we could also start thinking about what is the content we want to deliver for these beginning band classes, right?
Exactly.
Because do you want to do it as it's kind of a general music, or we're kind of like pushing them towards the instruments?
I think a little of both. I think we're going to probably approach it more like a general music class, where we're preparing them so that by the time we're back together again in person, they're going to have a head start when it comes to, you know, learning how to play their instruments. And just to review again, I think Mike has said this elsewhere, but it's hard to kind of for me to remember what's been officially talked about with the whole team and what Mike and I have just talked about. But the focus with returning students is really getting them their instruments and not really using Quaver a whole lot. We have the option to assign returning students Quaver lessons and assignments, but that's all optional by teacher choice. But the focus with beginners is the Quaver lessons and the Quaver assignments. And again, I think it'll take several weeks of the synchronous lesson time where we're meeting with students all together via Zoom. I don't think we're going to start with Quaver, you know, immediately right away. So that'll give Skylar and Mike and I time to kind of put together some sample lessons. You know, again, thinking that, you know, something like mid-October maybe, where we would start, you know, teaching lessons using Quaver.
And again, it could be even that you use maybe a song or like Prepare the Body just to welcome the students, and just insert in a couple pieces before you start to assign them full Quaver assignments, just so they get used to seeing the resources. I know a lot of teachers who have started that way of just showing them a fun song at the beginning that they can sing together, or a dance, or, you know, doing a stretching activity.
Yeah, so kind of what I'm just kind of thinking out loud right here. So if I was to create something, maybe what we would think about, well, what do we, you know, you could use Quaver as kind of like the PowerPoint behind you while you're leading your Zoom class, right? So wait, I clicked on the wrong thing, edit lesson. So you could create, well, that's Prepare the Body, right? So if I wanted to build that, oops, Bodhi, what's Bodhi? Prepare body. Is this not, am I doing this wrong?
If you are in all,
oh, there it is.
well, yeah,
there it is.
it'll be alphabetical order.
Right. And then maybe after that, okay, we're going to start with that. And then while we're talking, I'm going to create a new screen. And this new screen would give them the checklist, so they can see while I'm talking. I can be clicking on the checklist, telling them what we're going to cover talking about today. And then maybe the next slide is a song. And maybe that's how we do a first lesson. You don't even need to tell them that we're using Quaver at that point, or they're even setting up accounts. This is just to help you, assist you in teaching and giving content to the students those first few weeks. That's a thought, at least. This is all like brand new to me right now, thinking about it this way. So.
And I will recommend, if you, again, are a Facebook user, to check out that Quaver Music teachers Facebook page, because we have a lot of teachers, you know, in every state who are in the same boat as you. And so a lot of them have gone out of their way to create already like a week 1, and here are some activities that I'm going to do for my first lesson. And so that's a great way to start generating ideas and some specific screens that you want to use with your students. That's a great community and platform there.
Sharon, just to clarify, it's really only been within about the last week or so that we've found out that we are not returning to school in person. So the idea with all of this was going to be that we would have one time a week where we'd be working with students online and one time a week in person. And so your information has been so helpful. We're just trying to figure out how to funnel it down to what we want to present for our students. So this is great. Thanks.
Thank you. And I believe Emily will follow up with everyone who was a part of this training today with just resources of how to get started. And we'll make sure that we connect Jay with your district IT person so that we can get that single sign-on to get ready for the new school year.
And then also make sure that I'm connected with the rest of the district.
We're working on it right now.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool.
I texted Jay, so we're looking into it now.
Okay, great. All right, go.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Thank you, Juliana. Awesome. Well, we're coming back from the breakout rooms. I got distracted by some other business for several minutes, but I was able to spend some time in each one, and there was a lot of good interaction, I thought, so that's great. But just few more seconds. Let's see what it shows me here in the breakout room. Aha, it indicates everyone is back. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for about 5 minutes or so. I called you back a little bit early, I wanted you to have time to share out with the whole group any takeaways that you had from today. And just one kind of reminder here, and I want to thank all of our presenters. I saw a lot of interaction, which I really thought was great. I'm sure our team will put that on their evaluations. I really appreciate the fact that everybody here realizes that Quaver Music is a curriculum. That is something that is sequential, it's got a scope and sequence, and that Smart Music and Music First, they are tools that will be used with our scope and sequence. Again, that I showed you on Tuesday. Our scope and sequence, our curriculum guides do not change, other than the fact that, we are now with less time in some cases, especially at the elementary level, will be a little bit less time. So opening it up to the floor, any thoughts just on today? Or questions?
Yes,
Go ahead, Mark.
Dr. Stone. When will we have access to Smart Music?
It has, if you have filled out the form back in June, which you told me which one you wanted, we've already purchased it. We've purchased the Music First and the Smart Music. I will send something by days in to give you what we have already purchased. I know that I was just looking, Bob Morales had asked with a text about his subscription for Music First. I was able to show him how many student subscriptions bought and how many of the, what kind of a teacher license he had. So I can send that out to everybody by the end of the day. And I have to say, if you didn't respond to that, junior high, middle school teachers, it's not too late for me to adjust it or to add to it. So please let me know if you're not on the requisition in the invoice. Did that answer your question, Mark? Okay, anything else?
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So if I were to just go on Music First, I could create a login and everything and not be charged. It's automatically going to go to BCSD.
Correct. We have a 1-year license. So everything you do within the parameters of the license Yeah, there's no billing to you. Good question, Terry. I thought there was someone else asking.
My question is unrelated to that. It's more about the checkout form on the sessions for the BAPA
Yeah,
Institute.
go ahead, Bob. What's the
It
question?
just says
I'm going to
Quaver
share
music.
that.
It just says Quaver Music and Google Classroom for music teachers. It doesn't say anything about smart music, so
I don't know why it's listed that way, but if you go into, here are your two links. Is everyone seeing it on the share screen? Okay, yes, it's the evaluation link. This is the one where you'll give us feedback on what content you got today and the presentation of that content. And then the sign out link is what you have to do to be paid for the 2 hours today. So I'm going to keep this up here and we can keep having any comments or questions.
I understand that, but on the sign out link, it doesn't say anything about the smart music or music first sessions. It just says Quaver Music and Google Classroom.
I'm sure someone in curriculum and standards didn't enter what I gave them. They just did one of the three. So yeah, you're fine. You'll be paid for it appropriately. Good question, Bob. Okay, other thoughts? And I invite our presenters, if you have anything you want to share out right now too, that's fine as well.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say for Music First, at least, we will need to circle back with Michael on exactly what we've given you. So for those of you that were in the Music First session, there is no login right now. We just checked and there is no setup yet. So we'll make sure that you're all set up when we figure that out. So Teresa, specifically your question, we will be submitting or sending you all the login information you need once we work that out with Michael. But thanks again for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. And I hope you guys all have a great school year.
Thank you, Jim. Excellent. Yeah, and I'll check on our payment of the requisition and all. All right, next.
I just wanted to say thank you for having me, and also that we are all in this together. I know it feels very alone sometimes, especially as music teachers, because we might be the only one in the school building, but we're here with you. And I do have a song that I wanted to share if we have time.
Awesome, we'd love that.
I'll go ahead and share my screen so you can see the lyric page here.
Oh, I may have to stop sharing. Could everyone make sure you have these two links? Okay, there we go. I think it's going to work. Awesome.
M-O-T-I-V-A-T-E-D. M-O-T-I-V-A-T-E-D. What helps me win? What helps me improve? What's the reason I do what I do? I'm motivated. Motivated. I'm motivated. What makes me push and try to work hard? Reaching for my goals right from the start. I'm motivated. Motivated. I'm motivated. It's the reason why people do what they do. The sky is the limit and it's all up to you. I'm motivated. Yeah. Motivated. Here we go now. What keeps me going towards what I want to do? Why do I have to try something new? I'm motivated. I'm motivated. Yeah. What drives me to finish the task from A to Z? Cause if I wanna succeed, I must be motivated. Motivated. Here we go now. It's the reason why people do what they do. The sky is the limit and it's all up to you. So focus on the goal and do what you gotta do. I'm motivated.
That's great. Awesome.
I think if COVID-19 has taught us anything, is that we all rely on the arts to survive. And so I've been using music to stay motivated. So that was the ending piece that I wanted to leave everyone.
Sharon, thank you. And you know, I want to share out a couple of thoughts here as people are filling out their evaluation and sign out. On Monday, I came back from a week-long vacation, my only break really since COVID-19 hit. And it was so overwhelming. I had a horrible day. I'll just be honest. I was kind of overwhelmed by everything. Then I started digging into details of how the distance learning can work. And by Tuesday, and since then, I'm motivated. I really am motivated. That song got me kind of excited. I know our teachers are on vacation right now, and I honor your time. I am sending some emails your way between now and the first day we come back to. But again, enjoy every minute you can of your vacation, because we will get through this together, and we'll get through it in the fall. And make sure you take some time with your families. Make sure that you're really doing something special for them. All of this is going to work. I promise you that I'm going to have everything from my end ready for you as best I can, and we'll go forward. So that was a great way to end. Are there any other comments or questions?
Do we know when Aries will be updated with our class lists?
I don't know, but I'm going to write it down, Nicole, and I'll ask Christine Chapman. That's a good question. I am guessing they're behind on everything because they were waiting to see what was happening. The good news is that all of our class information at the junior high, middle school level is with the schedulers, because we all did that back before you checked out. So I need to go down to IT, I think, Nicole, and have a conversation in person. Thank you for asking, and I'll get back to you. Other things?
Mike, you and I can talk about it, but there was a question about the same thing with elementary students. If there's a way we can get Quaver the information to have students pre-enrolled in Quaver, make their sign-in a little bit more simple. But you and I can talk about that.
Great, we will do that. And Sharon, I know that Mr. Johnson had mentioned to Steve and I that this is something that can be done a couple ways, and it's easier if we can do it on our end as a district. Once we have our children enrolled and we know who they are, that takes a couple weeks or maybe even a little longer this year. But is that process, Sharon, something that you would work, or someone from Quaver Music, directly with our IT team? Is that how it works?
Yeah, and I already texted Jay about this. So Jay is your sales director, and once he gets whoever your contact is for the IT team of your district, all we would need is permission and access, and we would create all the student accounts for you on our end. And since you are using Google, all they would have to do is click on sign in with Google. It would automatically sign them in, and they would just enter in their class code to get them connected with their teacher.
That's the best news all day. Oh, that's going to relieve a lot of stress, right, Mr. Engel?
And once you integrate, our system will update every 24 hours at midnight. So if you do have a student jumping from your class to maybe a different teacher, that their account will move to the teacher that they are under in your district. So it would automatically update every 24 hours.
Thank you. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, if you are finished with the evaluation and sign-outs, feel free to go ahead and leave our meeting. And our presenters, I'll invite you to, whenever you're ready, you can also do the same. I'm here till noon. I'll sit here. If there's any questions people have, we want to have answered, I'd be happy to help. So Sharon, while we're here, and Steve, I'm just curious, once our teachers, we're going to, if I can guess right now, rather than invite students to join Google Classroom in our elementary team program, we're going to actually assign them in once they've registered through our online process that we're using this year. So once they're in there, you're saying that Quaver Music and our IT department can make it so that when they log into Google Classroom, they'll have like the same log, they won't have to log in again to Quaver Music? Is that how it works?
Correct. It's just a single sign-on. So once they go to quavermusic.com, or even if you have a landing page for your district and just have the Quaver logo, they would just click on that. And if they were already signed in through Google, they would just see their student dashboard. If they haven't logged in through Google, then there is a separate button that just says sign in through Google. And there is a little box to put in a class code. And teachers would just give their student whatever class code that they get from their teacher admin account, and that's what they would use to link their accounts together.
Very good. Well, that's really going to help get everybody onboarded. Wonderful.
I do have one question, and it probably only
Sure.
applies to Mr. Johnson and myself, but we could potentially have kids doing instrumental music and be with Quaver, and doing general music with us and also being in Quaver. Can they have 2 different classes that they're in at the same time? That would be my question.
And with Quaver, you can create as many classes as you need to.
So the
you
same student could be in 2 different classes?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
When
Thanks.
they sign into their student dashboard and when they click on assignments, if they are connected to multiple classes, it will ask them to choose a class to see the assignments for that teacher.
Very good. Very good. Good
Yeah,
question.
I did that a lot when I had my general music classes and also my after school classes. So they would be assigned in the 4th grade classroom teacher, but also like after school modern band period 2 or something like that.
Great. Anything last minute here? I'm coming up on a minute and I'm going to shut us down. I look forward to your feedback. And again, I'm here all week and next week. Feel free to call if there's something that was that I can help you with. I'm here. I really am honoring your time, but I know that I am here and I'm back. And if you need to ask questions, please do so. We'll figure it out together.
Thank you, Sharon. Sure appreciate it.
Yes, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, as you are navigating through and exploring, if you have any questions, I'm always available by email. It's just sharon@quavered.com.
Are you in Tennessee and Nashville?
I was. I lived
Okay.
there for 5 years and now I'm in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. Years ago, I was at a national conference in Nashville and I went to the Quaver Music headquarters. That was quite fun.
And in the last 2 years, we now have 5 buildings. We've expanded quite
Wow.
very quickly.
Your studio was a lot of fun. It was really, they were filming something. So it's great. All right. Well, everyone, I'm going to end our meeting. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.